for Bitcoin and what happens next, I think will probably amaze a lot of people out there, or at least it's a really good YouTube title. So first things first, I do look at this move that we saw to the upside above about 103,000, or sorry, with a high of 104,000 plus, as a test, the first test of that median on the monthly HPDR, the same level that we've been speaking about for a long time now. Yes, technically that is a little bit higher at 107, but in the grand scheme of things, this is close enough. And now it's the reaction that I was talking about on first pass is very likely to be a pullback. Now, could I have told you that this was going to be as violent of a pullback that it was? No, of course not. But as always, we went over potential areas of interest for the downside. In that case, or sorry, in this example, we went over the Bitcoin December open to lows and the percentage drop that we typically see during those times. And very specifically right here, when the trend is up, when the macro trend is up, the average differential between the open of the month and the low of the month in December, when the trend is up, has been about 6.5%. Well, what do you know? With yesterday's, price, I guess it was yesterday, we do have now, let me just measure it out, 6.25% to the downside. So that is very much within the confines of that data. And now I can say with a lot more, I guess, I don't want to say certainty because there's not, perhaps a lot more confidence that we very likely have seen the low. Not only that, but of course, the Bitcoin December lows in terms of just the date of the month. Again, when the macro trend is up right here, we typically see that on average around the fourth day, close to the fourth day of the month. And what do you know? Yesterday was day number 5. So again, very much within the confines of that data. And you can see, all of these dates during macro uptrends were typically happening pretty early on in the month for Bitcoin, especially during election and in halving years, happening on the 2nd, the 5th, which yesterday again was the 5th as well, and in the 9th respectively. So, going back into it right here, we've seen the average day, we've seen the average, percent drawdown. So I would say if you are bullish on Bitcoin, if you do think that Bitcoin is going to close December green, that was very likely the low, and you should, generally be looking for some sideways and up from here. So let me get back into my notes as of right now. And also, yes. Oh, yes. So yeah. So yes. Another thing, yesterday, the wick to the downside, not only was it playing out the average percent drawdown from the open to the low that we see for December, but on the weekly time frame, we have seen that reconnect finally with that red with the red 5 exponential moving average right here, which is again another moving average that we've been looking at, especially during trending marks, because Bitcoin likes to reconnect with it before actually having any major continuation in trend. And this works both to the upside and the downside. And I'll give you a few examples. Again, the more recent one was back here in the 2024 run, or I should say the early 2024 run. Again, you get these reconnects, mostly along the way. And when you don't get a reconnect, you typically get sideways until you do see a reconnect before continuation. Same shit over here. Many times in this cycle, as well, and many times, in prior cycles here too. So, with that in mind, I do look at this as, overall still good for Bitcoin, because I do think that December will likely close green. Obviously, I will be wrong, but even if I am wrong on that, there's such an obvious and easy way now to be judging, what would constitute failure, or essentially, an invalidation of of basically the last month's worth of analysis for Bitcoin, to the upside. It would be anywhere below yesterday's low, which was 91,450 or so. And on some exchanges, actually went a little bit lower than that. On the index right here, it did not create a lower low than last Tuesday's low, or was it last Tuesday? The 26th of November, which was 90,774. On one exchange it did, but again, I'd go with the index right here. Ultimately, any sort of closures below yesterday's low, okay, something else is going on, and Bitcoin very likely to, I don't know, well, just likely to play some major sideways and down, and then maybe the perma ultra bear is going to be right, or at least a major correction down to very low 80s. But for right now, looking at everything, this looks still like the same, or actually, where was it? We had a LARP line coming in from the early portion of this week, basically calling a move to the downside here, but that's going to be a higher low, and then, a bit more sideways, and then probably up. In fact, we can just look at it from this angle, I guess, as well. I mean, I'll do some drawings, some little paintings here, something like this, as Bitcoin wedges itself into what is an ascending triangle. But again, I don't really care about formations or the names of them. What I care about is trend, and the reason why triangles typically works, because if you have an ascending triangle, you have an uptrend, or at least the makings of an uptrend, because you have higher lows. Buyers getting more aggressive. Crazy idea. Anyways, Bitcoin still working its way through here. Probably see a resolution of this. I would say before like a week from now, perhaps next Wednesday to Thursday. That's typically when we see these things break. But yeah. Anyways, on top of that, there's also another big thing to be aware of that happened yesterday that does suggest that this move to the downside is probably not as problematic as I think a lot of people are looking at it as, and that is looking at the BlackRock ticker IBIT. It did not follow on that downside move. Yes, it did have a downside move, but it did not have this massive wick to the downside, which more, reasonably would have been down around about $53. This one actually just happened, I don't know, let's actually see the percent pullback. Yeah, about a 6% pullback from the highs. So ultimately, looking at BlackRock, I would say on the higher term time frames, this probably does go on to consolidate a little bit more. But overall, as long as Bitcoin is above yesterday's low, I still do look at this as likely the pivot for the next major low. And if Bitcoin does trade above yesterday's high, even just by a tick, we're going to see a massive fucking move to the upside. Very, very likely because like I said, on the monthly HPDR, the first test, very likely to pull back on the median. The second one, that's the one that can actually break. And if things break, there's a lot of open space to kind of fill out over the next couple months. Again, if that does happen. So that's a big if statement, but look, anywhere above yesterday's high, that would do it for me. Or if Bitcoin closes, let's say if Bitcoin closes above essentially 100,000, so not super helpful in that regard. We probably actually see the former of those conditions being met. Anyways, a couple last things here before we wrap this one up. But yeah, going back to the December monthly again, things can fucking explode from there. Average returns for winning Decembers has been about 31.5%. The median win was 35%, or a little bit over 35%. So if and when this does happen, this can be a pretty fucking crazy move to the upside. At that point, I mean, even 20% up puts Bitcoin at like 118. If I go for the average at 30, I mean, that's going to put it, about 130 or so somewhere around there. Of course, this is all with the assumption that December will be green. So understand the assumption and then understand where that essentially meets failure. Like it's no longer valid, which is again below yesterday's low on a closing basis. Something else going on. Time to reanalysize things. On top of that, let's go over a little bit of daily price statistics right here. Let me actually bring it up. Where are they? There they are. We can see that Friday is actually slightly more weighted in favor of positive closures than negative closures, but we have not really seen significant gains or losses on average for Friday, about 240 versus 220, giving us likely another day of range here. Bitcoin's kind of already tested the top side of this range at about 99,400 or so. The bottom side of the range, perhaps all the way down just below 95. So if Bitcoin does get a wick down there, it's completely fine, or it's within the data, but I'd still be looking at this as just, the same sort of consolidation. Nothing's been resolved as of right now, despite Bitcoin getting that move above $100,000. Anyways, last thing that we'll end off here, as always, I want to continue to check in on the quantum wave bands, just to give people an idea of, of what this thing is doing. I think that's the best way to, transparently market something. And we can see the 30-minute time frame had a very minimal trade right here, right before that massive move to the upside. Again, this is a scalping strategy. It's not designed to get these major moves, but the hourly time frame actually did get that major move. Again, they're not designed for that. They're really designed as a scalping tool. But this is like an exaggerated result right here. It was from open to high. From open to close, about a 7% move, or over a 7% move for an hourly strategy. So I would not say that this is a reasonable result to be expecting often. More often than not, you're going to get, small trades like this, like you see over here. Again, this is a scalping tool, not a trend trading tool, but pretty damn cool nonetheless. And then also, just last thing, while I'm on this recording, because we're actually recording this during a live stream, Else has been getting a lot of emails about the Blowfin promotion. I really want to lessen the load on her, so hopefully the people who need to hear it are going to hear it. But it's very simple with the Blowfin cashback. I can assure you, if you use the link in the description of this video, which, hold on. Oh yeah, I actually don't have my stream up right here. But if if you just scroll down a little bit and you see in the description that link, if you've used that link at any point in time, you do have the updated cashback percentage. The issue that is happening, or the issue is that Bluffin does not let regular users see in their account what cashback level that they're getting. So I think people are just confused, and also people think that it's like a fucking it's a fee reduction. It's not a fee reduction. It's cashback, which effectively it's the same thing, but you just get the money back into your account rather than your fees are actually reduced. I don't know why they do that, but they do it that way. But yeah, I can assure you, you definitely have that percentage back. I've checked multiple times now with their representative at both for my own knowledge and for other people's knowledge as well. And every time the answer's been the same. Yes, indeed. Everyone has 15% now, and anyone who uses that link gets it for the lifetime of their account. Anyways, that's where we'll end this video. As always, I want to wish you the best of the best. We'll continue on with the live stream now. Take care.